founder of Mosaic Matchmaking. Thank you all for having me. So, some advice I would give to singles this Valentine's Day is if you're looking to date, the first step is really to do some introspection. Think about, why do you want to date? What makes you feel like you are ready and available for a partner? And then from there, once you're able to answer those questions, start thinking about what qualities that you expect this potential partner to have. And it's not just good enough to think about it. Actually put this down on pen and paper. Write it down. Create your relationship vision board so you can think through all of the things that this person will have, the things that this person won't have, and the way that this person can actually enhance and be an asset to your life.
So what do you guys think of that video?
The first thing that came to my mind was the 5 love languages. So, if maybe for those that might not be aware of it, that's Gary Chapman wrote a book, and it's called The 5 Love Languages, and there's different versions of it, but it goes into the way you give and receive love. And it's very good because I just read the book for something else, and it's very insightful. So there's 5. So you have physical touch, words of affirmation, you have quality time, you have acts of service, and you have gifts. So those are the 5. And so there's a test that you take, and it's free, and then it ranks them 1 through 5. And what it does is it allows you to understand what you value the most in a relationship, and how you receive love and give love. And that's very important. And a lot of premarital counseling, there's some that they won't let you, go through the whole process without you taking that test. It's easy to take. Anyone can take it. My top 2, those are the ones you really look at the most. My top 2 is words of affirmation and physical touch. And that means that I give love and receive love through those 2 primarily. So, if I'm complimenting you, and if I'm, high-fiving you and hugging you and like, hey man, it's great, that's me giving it, and that's how I receive it. So that's what I look for. Like, those are the 2 things that I look for. But there might be somebody else that is quality time and gifts. And if I'm constantly giving them words of affirmation and never giving them a gift, they're not receiving love. So it's a very important thing to have that kind of ironed out before you go into that kind of relationship, to where you know each other's love languages. So when she said that, maybe it's just because I looked at it, but that's what I thought of, because that goes into establishing that relationship, to where, okay, well, I'm words of affirmation and physical touch, but what if she's quality time and acts of service? I need to know that, because if I can hug her and tell her how great she is, but she's not getting any, she's not receiving love, because that's not how she receives it. So it's very significant to have that ironed out. So I'm very curious to see everyone's and hear everyone's thoughts on that topic.
So with me, it's quality time is number 1. Then it's the gifts, and it's the words of affirmation. Those are my top 3. And I don't know if it changes over time, but because I'm sure it was different when I was younger, when I first took it, when I was like in my late 20s. But it's pretty informative. I think a lot of people, they're in mismatched situations because they don't know how to communicate through love in that specific way of love to their partners and even their families, because this can work with your family as well. Some people, they can't communicate with their family because they don't know how to express love to that family member who expresses it in a certain way. So, I think it's very helpful to know your love language.
Well, it's interesting that you said mismatched in terms of finding someone who may not necessarily know how to speak your love language. I think that's something to think about as people are searching. The thing with language, right, is that it's something that can be learned, just the same way with the English language, Spanish, whatever it is. It's something that can be learned, but you want someone who's willing to learn. There's Matthew was given that example where he may receive love through quality you said touch, right, and words of affirmation. And if you have communicated that, but the other person is just like, no, that's not important. This is how, and they just want to continue the way that they show love, then you're not going to be able to grow with that person. You're not going to be able to really connect as well with that person. So you want to find someone that's willing to learn you and commit to that growth and finding out how they can show love. And also, let me just say, I did have a conversation with a friend of mine who was talking about how the love languages, the 5 love languages, are actually all of God's love languages. Like, if you've ever stopped to think about it, because that's like how God shows us love, right? Like he does affirm us. He does spend time with us. He does give us, bless us with gifts. He does what are the other ones, like service, acts of service. He's always coming through for us. So I say that, I just bring that up to say it's not like we can't learn the other things, because as we learn how to love God and have God's love within us, then we can be also able to demonstrate that love to others.
So, Juanica, what do you think about love languages?
I remember when I first heard about them, I thought it was one of those like cheesy things that wasn't valid. And then I took a quiz and I was like, oh, wow. So I agree a lot with what Gracious said, especially that God expresses his love to us in all 5 of these ways. And so I think another sign of maturity for, being ready for a relationship is if you are understanding of the fact that it's not all about you. So if you think, oh, I need somebody to speak to me on my level, but you don't want to learn, like Gracious was saying, and meet that person where their needs are, then that's an issue. Then it's just for you, and you really don't need to be in a relationship at that point. Or you probably just need to learn a little more through the relationship that you're in at the time. For me, mine is, what was it? Mine is acts of service. And I remember the first time I shared that with a group of friends, people who were like, oh, she's a princess. Oh, she just needs everybody to give her what she wants. And I was so hurt, because to me, that's not, the case. So it meant a lot to me when, I think some of y'all have met Lee, whenever he would, do things like hold my purse or pick up something or whatever. So I was like, oh, somebody that actually is willing to do something without criticizing me for the way that I receive love. So, yeah.
Okay, so what is one thing you wish everyone in your early life taught you about love in in those developing years? Like something that you wish you had learned, wish you learned when you were in high school or something. What's something you wish you had learned?
Ooh, that's a good question. Let's think. So in high school, I think the biggest thing would be learning that love is not just about me, like what I can get. Because in high school, I wanted to, as every high schooler wants to be in a relationship, and that was something that I dreamed about all the time. And also that love is not just about the physical things either, because that was another thing that I desired for a long time. I did kind of almost enter a relationship out of high school, but thankfully God basically took me out of that and just took me through a couple of years of really learning to surrender it to him and really learn what love actually is. So that by the time I'm to where I am now, being in a relationship, it's not about me. There are some areas where it is, but it's also about the other person. So.
Matthew?
I would just say real quick is that I guess what I wish, remember the question is what would I wish I have learned about relationships earlier?
Right. Like what do you wish you would have known earlier?
That the lack of one does not mean that you're undeserving of one, and this goes back to my, some of my struggles that I've had in the past of insecurity. I always felt, since I didn't have one, I felt like I was worthless and unworthy of having one. I think a lot of people feel that way to some degree. Like, I'm unlovable because I'm single, or I think that's what brings a lot of people stress to some degree, particularly around Valentine's Day, and that's not the case. Just because you don't have a relationship at the moment doesn't mean that you're unlovable. It just means you don't have one. So I wish I would have learned that, because I define my worth in life on if I was single or not, and that's not how you should value your worth. There's timing. You might not be ready for it, and that's okay. So I think that we should say it's okay to not be ready. Take your time on that, but don't view your worth on your relationship status. So that's what I was doing. So I would say, I wish I would have known that. And so now that's what I want to teach others. Like, hey, don't value your relationship. Don't value your worth on your relationship status. You're worthy as you are. And as you continue to grow and mature, and timing is right, then that'll all fall into place. And then it'll be the right person at the right time. Then it'll be healthy. And then it'll bring forth, happiness and fruit. So
I would say for me is that I wish it was explained to me that it's not how what they talk about in movies or music, that love is different, that it is it's a choice. Also too, it's accepting that person just as they are. A lot of times in the movies, they show like where it's just two people that are just like a perfect situation all the time, and the guy is always running and chasing, and the woman is just always the damsel in distress, and that's love. Well, that's not the case at all. It's just accepting each other, growing with each other. So I would say that's one thing, and also too, just learning to love and accept yourself, even because you can't really effectively love somebody if you don't love and accept yourself as you are.
I want to just say this. When it comes to love and things I wish I'd known that at a younger age that love was not as hard as the real world likes to tell you. Because in the real world, people basically tell you that what's the point of ever finding love? But, my mind changed when I heard this one story from, I think Charles Dickens wrote the story. I forgot the title of the story. But the character, he has to stand in um, for execution for the fiance of the woman he loved. So he saved her life. He saved the life of her fiance because he loved her. And so what happens on the day of the execution of the fiance, the old boyfriend takes the fiance's place and he dies instead of the boyfriend. The boyfriend lives happily ever after with the woman. And the gentleman, he says, it's a far better thing I do to do this day. Basically, he gave up. He was happy to have loved and lost than to not have loved at all. That's another phrase from the story. And I think it is better to pursue love than to never pursue love. I think it's better to experience it than never have it. Some people are like, "Well, love is a waste of time. It's never guaranteed." Well, nothing in life is guaranteed. Today is not guaranteed. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. But when you go out and you decide to take a chance with somebody, you do grow, and the other person grows with you. And I think it's better to do that. And I wish that I known that, because when you're in your teens and 20s, it's kind of binary, because it's either like Disney or it's like Hell on Wheels. It's like that's the options we're given. That is either going to be all super pleasant or like Disney. But I think it's all about you taking the initiative and owning that moment with the other person. It's a growth thing to me.
What I wish I knew about love is that that every relationship is a ship. I've learned this. It's a ship. It's like it takes you somewhere, right? It takes you to a destination. And so you have to, I think, because I've always been like an open person and like a people person, I guess, if, so to speak. So sometimes you open yourself up to people, which those relationships are not really going anywhere, or they're not going the direction that you want. And so you waste a lot of time trying to redirect this ship, to go the way that you want it to go, or to convince the captain to be like, no, let's not go that way, let's go this way. And no, just learning how to have like discernment and like, cutting your losses from from the start, I think is a good skill to have, and something I wish I had learned earlier.
Just my final thoughts. They're more directed towards, I would say, anybody watching this. Um, I would say, don't be afraid to celebrate Valentine's Day, whether, you have someone or you don't. Just be, content with where you are at in life. I would say too, just celebrate the moment, celebrate the moment, whether it's with a group of girlfriends or it's just you or you have someone, or if you want to celebrate with your pet, whichever. I think you should. I think also too, you should learn to love yourself, deal with some of the things that you're going through, that you went through in your past, so that you can heal and you can have healthy relationships whenever that time is right. I'm a big proponent for people to get therapy, to speak to someone. Doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you or that you're weird. It's perfectly normal and it's okay. But I highly encourage people to do that. I also just highly encourage people to just celebrate, be happy, live your life.
I would say the final thoughts that I have is that I love the common theme that we've had throughout the night of really having that self-care and the assuredness of who you are as a person before you walk into a relationship, and then even as you are walking through one, continuing to learn who you are. So I think the biggest thing is identity all the time. That's just wherever God takes me in life, it's always identity, identity, identity. What is my identity? What is the identity of this thing? So I think especially Brooke, what she mentioned, understanding what the relationship is to, like, what type of relationship do you want to have a vision for that. So know yourself, know the relationship, and then continue to grow. And I also like the whole celebrate everything, celebrate you, celebrate the relationship, however that may look.
I would say a relationship's only going to magnify who you already are. So I would have a life that's going to be, and I'm not saying be perfect, but definitely be whole, be healed of, definitely past wounds. There's nothing worse than going from one relationship to the next, bringing that back into the next one, and then expecting that person to treat you like your ex. And if that didn't end well, then you just have the expectation that this isn't going to go well. So heal first, and that process is going to be how long that process is. There's really no timetable for each person's different, each situation's different, but you're just understand that your relationship is going to magnify who you already are in each other. So that's why you need to make sure that you have yourself healed properly. I'm not saying be perfect, but I definitely am saying don't be toxic. Don't go in with bad expectations, because now you're putting that person has 3 strikes against them before they even get started, and it's just a toxic cycle. And then that's how bad relationships just bring on bad relationships. So don't just have a relationship to have one. It's better to heal and not be in a relationship than to just have one and then just constantly because then it just piles on. So take care of yourself first. Love yourself first, because if you can't love somebody else if you hate yourself. It's because it's just not going to work out. So love yourself, love others, and then as you take care of yourself and as you get to that point where you're healed and you have emotional healing, you're going to be more attracted to somebody than if you're constantly trying to cover up a scar and whatnot. And so just let God continue to work on you, and then the right timing will happen, and you'll start to realize when you're ready. And so just trust your gut on that.
So, all this to say that we are characters in a story, and we're constantly being written and rewritten. We're seeing antagonists. Sometimes we're the protagonist. Sometimes we're the antagonist too. Somebody in our past may not have liked how we carried on a relationship. It can be romantic or it can be just family didn't like how you did something. But I think when you bring grace and you bring love and you bring intentionality and like Juanita's saying, identity, you you become a better you. And the more better people we have out there, the better the whole world will be. But right now, I would say a lot of us are confused and angry and trying to figure out how to basically repeat what our parents did. If our parents had successful marriages, we want to just be like them. But a lot of us are in our 20s and 30s and don't know where to go. But I think if we keep ourselves grounded in where God wants us to be, we'll be less angrier, we'll be less confused, and we'll have a straight and narrow path to follow. But tonight's been really good, and I want to thank Juanika for joining us. And anyone else who would like to come on the single chat, contact one of us, and we'll see about incorporating you into our next session. But welcome to 2021, everyone. This is our new season. This is our second season, and this is a great way to kick it off. And I want to thank everyone for all coming back. This is the single chat team. Gracious, Amber, Matthew, and myself. And tonight we welcome Juanika, and even Brooke kind of stopped by really quickly. But this is our Valentine special, and I hope to see you guys in in more episodes to come. God bless. Good night, and happy Valentine's Day. Take care.